What's going on, guys? Murph's YT13 back here for part 2 of your wrestling hot takes. We got so many. I wanted to go through as many as I possibly could, so I decided to split it into 2 parts. We are back. We ended on a really good note on the last video. We had Robbo saying that he prefers watching Murphs over actual WWE, and I think he's onto something. But we're going to kick it off hot with this one, because we're going to carry on down the list. Fabian Capelli. He says Jim Cornette does have points when it comes to worker safety, unbelievability, and a lot of things he's saying. For example, he hated the Dijakovic versus Lee match from the past takeover. I think Jim Cornette is a little bit outdated with a lot of what he says. But I do agree that some of what he says is probably true. Like, I think sometimes, like, for his old school beliefs can be, like, up there. Also, to note, Fabian goes on to say, I don't condone his racial, homophobic, or discriminating slurs. That goes without saying. But, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think sometimes kayfabe could be maybe taken care of a little bit more, but maybe not to the extent that Corny believes that it should be. Again, Jotaro Kenjo, I think he was in the last video. The Attitude Era hasn't aged well. I think that goes without saying. I think, obviously being someone who grew up in the Attitude Era, I tend to look at it with like some rose-tinted glasses a little bit. I tend to think about when I was younger and I was watching it and how impressionable I was back then. But yeah, I think if you watch it now in the current climate, I don't think anyone would argue that it's probably some of the stuff is a little bit on the nose. Jeremy Bastien says NXT focuses too much on wrestling instead of developing characters, and I think WWE signing too much talent is bad because they are not utilizing most of the people they have. Yeah, I think NXT going with a predominantly in-ring based product is good, but yeah, I agree with the character stuff. I think you're probably looking at like NXT being maybe a little bit, yeah, I would agree. Like, I think they need to develop a few more characters. I think that used to be what it was more about. But again, I said it in the last video, I feel like NXT's kind of become a parody of what it used to be. And yeah, obviously signing way too much talent. This is the thing with the releases and stuff that happened not long ago. It's not the worst thing because like now a lot of these guys can go out and they can do their thing. So yeah, I agree with pretty much both things. Joe Southen says Roman Reigns is one of the top all-round guys in the WWE and people unfairly give him stick because at one specific time his name wasn't Daniel Bryan. Okay. I believe that if Bryan hadn't returned just a few weeks before Reigns won the Royal Rumble, his victory would have been responded to much better. And when he is given the right material, he is a great promo. I agree. I actually agree. I think the biggest thing, and I remember, I think it was even Rey Mysterio got booed because he wasn't Daniel Bryan. So, like, I think I think you're right. I think if Bryan hadn't been there, I think maybe. I think you might be right. I think he was a little bit of a victim of that, but I think there was a little bit of a build-up to that as well, though. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he was pretty unlucky at the timing, but they say timing is everything. Matthew Evenchko. Again, I'm going to butcher all these names. CM Punk better than Cody Rhodes. Yep. I agree. I agree. I think Cody's good. I think Punk's better. Was. He might not be now. Punk mightn't be any good now. SXE Angel says, genuinely believe that Lita is the most overrated women's wrestler of all time. Now you're really talking. You're really pulling at my heartstrings because Lita was my first crush, man. I loved Lita. She was like my girl. But I do agree with you. I'm just talking from now. If you were there back then, which I'm not sure if you were, she was huge, and she was like one of the only women that I'd seen do some of the things that she was doing. So yeah, I mean, in hindsight, yeah, but when you grow up watching Lita and you're an impressionable teen, yeah, it's hard for me to say that I think she's overrated because she was like one of the first women to ever get a main event on Raw, regardless of like the time. That's still a pretty big deal. So I don't tend to agree with you there. Hyatt's Bobby says AEW got boring real quick. Now we're getting into it. All right, here we fucking go. AEW got boring real quick. He doesn't like it. I think it's been up and down. I think AEW has seen some unbelievable... I think it was the lead up to Full Gear that was like some of the best string of like 4 or 5 shows I've seen in years, man. To say it got boring, that's... I don't like the amount of tag team matches and that sort of thing. But yeah, I can see why you would think that. Obviously, the current situation doesn't help. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see what you mean because AEW promised one thing and then kind of delivered another, which is not a bad thing. I think what AEW does now is good. I watched AEW today and I thought it was good. Yeah, well, hey, that's your opinion. I love it. Hopefully, we get into some real hot takes here. Adequate Productions. I like that name. The New Day need to break up. I 100% agree. I think it's run its course. I thought it ran its course like 2 years ago. And yeah, I think they absolutely do. I'm just going to call you real boy. Jon Moxley was better as Dean Ambrose. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, okay. Okay, I see you. Jon Moxley was better as Dean Ambrose. I'd be interested to get your comments on this in the comments section. That's what it's for. Jon Moxley was better as Dean Ambrose. I think certain parts of Dean Ambrose run were better. I don't think you can go past Dean Ambrose peak Shield. Peak Shield was like one of the best things I've ever seen in wrestling. The Wyatts, Wyatt Shield, Evolution Shield. The breakup was good. If not, maybe a little bit rushed, but we won't get into that. Oh, I don't know. I think certain parts of the Dean Ambrose run were, but I really like Mox now. I think he's definitely that main event feel guy. But hey, that's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. Evelyn Gravett. The wrestling community is more toxic than the actual product they claim to be fans of is. That's a good take. I think it is our fault. Sometimes. I do think it is our fault sometimes. I think sometimes we are way too hard to please. And Evelyn, I tend to agree with you. I think, yeah, I think WWE sometimes gets hauled over the coals for the tiniest little things that they shouldn't. And I tend to agree with you. I think you're right. I really do. Grizzly Entertainment. All of the 4 horsewomen, besides Lynch, have lost all credibility of character. Oh, so who was the 4 horsewomen? Becky, Charlotte, Bayley. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sasha. So let's go through. Becky, obviously, who you've excluded, I think has been really good, has been phenomenal over the last couple of years. She was a real breakout star. Charlotte, I think too many title reigns has kind of harmed her because now it seems as though they're just overtly going for her dad's record and they're trying to push that through as quickly as possible. Sasha's just like off the map somewhere. But I think coming back, I think she's pretty good now. And Bayley, a little bit directionless. Yeah, I don't know, like all credibility, but certainly not as much as they used to have. But that comes with overexposure and a whole host of other things. So that's a good take, though. Gets you thinking. I like those ones that really get you thinking. Tyrone Carriage says The Miz had the best IC title reign in the 2000s. I agree. I actually agree. I think Miz brought something to that belt that was missing for a long, long time. And yeah, actually tend to agree with you. I think that is a good take. I really do. I think I can't even remember who like the Intercontinental Champions were in the early 2000s. So that probably tells you all you need to know, really. Like there was good champions like Jericho, Angle held it. But I think Miz is the last one that I really remember that brought something to that belt. Maybe even Cody when he brought back the white belt. But I was kind of in and out at that time. So yeah, I mean, just by the fact that I probably can't even remember some of these reigns, I would say, yeah, absolutely. I'd probably have to agree with you. Just Adrian says WWE does listen to the fans, but in a completely opposite way. So I'm interested to know if you're watching this, Just Adrian, I'd like to hear more about that. How do you mean? If they listen to the fans but in a different way, are they listening to the fans and then doing the opposite? Is that what you mean? Because I don't know if they deliberately do that. I think sometimes they are legitimately tone deaf and just get it wrong. So I don't know. I don't know. David Boniface. I don't know, man. He's been a long-term supporter of the channel, Patreon and all kinds of things. David Boniface, I want to say. Maybe. That's my Australian accent coming out. He's got a great take. I've just skimmed over this one. The only promotion that is trying to be different is the NWA. WWE is phoning it in, and AEW is blurring the line between WCW, Prime, TNA, and a really big indie. Yeah, I agree, because we were sold the farm, weren't we, with AEW? We were told that AEW was going to be analytical, it was going to have a sports feel, it was going to be statistics based, it was going to be different, it was going to be like something you've never ever seen before. And now I don't think it's not like that at all. It's just a different coat of paint doing the same thing. But then you look at NWA and they're not really trying to be different either. They're just winding back the clock, because nothing truly is original in pro wrestling anymore. But I do agree. I think the only thing that really feels different at the moment is NWA. So that's a great take from David. Big shout outs to you, man, for the support. Love it. Great take. I think you're right. The Sonic Wolves says Judy Bagwell on a forklift match was actually a decent match. I have seen it, but I watched a long time ago, so I actually might go back and rewatch that. Hey, at least it's different, man. I would love to see them do some silly stuff like that now. I know they've done the basketball stuff with War Machine. I don't even want to talk about it. So maybe I don't want to see that. I don't know. Maybe, again, you look back with rose-tinted glasses, or maybe I'm being a little bit too serious. I don't know. But I might have to watch that match back, because that would be absolutely hilarious. Maybe we do that for a video. Tony K says, Hangman Adam Page could be the most over wrestler in the world once given a singles push away from Omega. I think that's actually what they're setting up for. I think they know that Hangman is a big deal, and I think they know that they can do that off the back of Omega with this feud. I believe the right thing to do is to turn Omega heel and keep Adam Page as the babyface in that rivalry once that gets up and going. That was derailed because of what's going on. I 100% agree with Tony K on that one. Nick Mankowski says, besides the Boneyard match, because it was like a Buried Alive match, cinematic matches are ruining wrestling. I think if it's in moderation, it's fine. But I think if you start seeing if you start seeing this stuff every week, I think it will lose value and maybe devalue it. It depends what you mean by ruining wrestling. It depends, is it ruining the perception of wrestling from the outside? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's ruining wrestling. I think it's the next evolution in wrestling. Because there was a time where, someone using the DDT as a transition move was ruining wrestling as well. So we might look back in 10 years and cinematic wrestling might be all we have and everyone loves it and then there's a new boom. So it's hard to say it's ruining wrestling. I think it's just another step in wrestling. Do I personally prefer it over a long 25-minute match with a 6-week build-up between two guys who are just going at it? No, but I still believe it has a place. I really do. Kid Kingpin, love this guy, one of my favorite people. He says, wrestling will probably never be as hot as it was in the late 90s ever again. I think it could be, but in a different way, because people consume wrestling way different now. Will one company like WWF or WCW be like the runaway, getting 6 million, 7 million viewers per show and all this sort of crazy stuff that was happening? Probably not. But, yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think it will ever be as hot as it was back in like 98, 99, 2000s. I remember going to school and like it was all anybody talked about. And this is in Australia. Everyone talked about Stone Cold. Everyone was talking about The Rock. Everything. So, yeah, I don't think it'll ever get back to that. I think there might be certain moments in wrestling that go sort of really viral and make worldwide news, but I don't think it'll ever have that real sustained like 3 or 4 year period where it was just the hottest thing in the world. Who Dat Nation 12 says, I feel the reality-based era has put a cap on how popular the wrestling business could ever be again. Although, in the Attitude Era, we were shown a peek behind the curtains, in this day and age, we are told every day that the business isn't real with shows like Total Diva and The Last Ride documentary, which is entertaining, by the way. He says, yeah, I think nowadays, because the jib is up and everybody knows, you've kind of got to try and sell a little bit more behind the scenes because people already know what's up. They already know what's happening. But yeah, like obviously shows like Total Diva and stuff. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the mystique is gone and that really harms drawing power because, you know, you'll tune in, you'll know, for example, like that Edge is going to be in the Royal Rumble or whatever the case may be. So yeah, like I do tend to agree. I think it won't be that popular again because everybody kind of knows what it is now. So you have to do something absolutely extraordinary and something completely different in order to really bring in like new fans. Wrestle Channel says, in my mind, the pound for pound overall best wrestler in the world today is Daniel Bryan. His matches are always fun and exciting to watch. His character, whether heel or babyface, have layers and structured and motivations behind them and are logical and something you could actually see happening. All in all, his character work is amazing and he's been performing at an elite level ever since his ROH days. Jericho, Styles, Okada, Tanahashi, they're good candidates, but D-Bry is definitely number one. I 100% agree with you. I think he's the best to ever lace up a pair of boots, ever. And I 100% agree with you on that one. And yeah, I think people come close, but like he's the best. Ethan Anderson, I have two, he says. The Fiend should never have won the Universal Championship, even though I love the gimmick. Sasha Banks is extremely overrated, so he's just gone whack to Sasha Banks. I agree, I don't think The Fiend should have won the title until WrestleMania. I think that should have been the time when he did it. But, yeah, obviously the stuff that preceded that was like disappointing. But yeah, I agree. And I don't know, I think Sasha Banks isn't overrated. I think she's actually really good. Tobibe says CM Punk would have never been as popular as he is now if he hadn't have left wrestling when he did. I agree. I think if Punk had stayed, I think he would not be anywhere near the heights and like the level of hype that he has now. I don't think he would be. I agree. I think absence makes the heart grow fonder and 100% agree. All right, Tommy says, Kenny Omega isn't as good as everyone hypes him up to be. I just think he's only gotten that hype because of Meltzer and because he was allowed to have 30 to 60 minute matches every time he stepped into the ring. I think if guys like Rollins, Styles, Moxley, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Brody Lee, and some others were given the opportunity, they could have been just as good, if not better. But like I said, that's my opinion. Yeah, you could say like, well, Kenny Omega's only good because he got 30-minute matches. But like to be able to go out there and do what he did in 30-minute matches is like 60-minute matches is phenomenal and what makes him great. I do agree though. I think if you gave Cesaro and Daniel Bryan the same amount of time, they'd have an equally as good a match. But yeah, I mean that's like saying if Rollins was booked better in WWE, he'd be better. Like, it's just facts. The fact is, Kenny Omega could stand up and could do that. So I think he is a little bit overrated, but I don't think, like, it's because of that. I think people just, like, see him as something, like, godly. But, I guess I tend to agree. Like, I just don't think he's as good as what people make him out to be. I don't think he's as good a character. I don't think he's a great promo. But he's a different kind of cat. Like, it's hard to compare him to anyone. So I guess that does make him great. Jack Steen says, AEW will not pass WWE ever. They are a better version than TNA at best. It depends what you mean by passing them. It really does. It depends what you mean by, like, by passing WWE. If you're talking global reach, no, I don't think they will pass them because WWE has it very much monopolized. But to say AEW is like a better version than TNA at best, I think they do a little bit better job than TNA, and I think they have a better management of their stars. We've got Ben Bruder who says, if we still had crowds, Otis' current rise push possibly as good, if not better than the original Yes Movement. Oh, wow, okay. I think it'd be better if there was a crowd. It'd make it way better. But bigger than the Yes Movement? Maybe. I can't tell you you're wrong because I don't know. That's not bad. Christian Jackson says, TNA used to be better than WWE. I think there was a section of TNA that was better. I think when the X Division was up and running, I think absolutely. Tay4 and Day says, Dolph Ziggler and Gargano are bad sellers. They oversell. Wow. Oversell. I think Ziggler's guilty of that. But I don't think they're bad. I couldn't say they're bad. I couldn't sit here and tell you that they're bad sellers. But that's your opinion, and I respect it. Black Sprinkles. He says, sorry for the long read. I'm going to read it. People overrate AEW. I'm not saying it's bad, but AEW lacks direction. It's so fixated on scooping up old WWE talent and giving them a massive push to spite WWE. For example, Brody Lee hasn't been in AEW for 6 months or as long as everyone else. MJF, Darby Allin, Jimmy Havoc. And already, he is in the main event of their biggest show. The main event is mainly WWE guys who are underutilized or are already established. Something better would be to push people like Sonny Kiss, Darby Allin, Marco Stunt, Luchasaurus, Private Party, and more. I hope the best for them, but if they keep getting old WWE guys and push them more than other wrestlers, they'll end up being like TNA or the later years of WCW, which isn't good. Part of me sort of agrees. I think the anti-Vince McMahon stuff when Brody Lee first came in felt very forced. Very forced, and I didn't really like it. But I think AEW need to present themselves with stars. And to get eyes on the product, you need to feature people who people know. Is Brody Lee maybe getting pushed a little bit too quickly? I think maybe not, because I think Brody Lee has untapped potential, particularly with that gimmick. So, do people overrate AEW? Yeah, they do. I think a lot of the times you'll see, like on Solid Monster, like the votes and stuff, even if the show hasn't been that great, people still vote up because it's just the done thing. Not saying that you should ever want to vote down deliberately just, to do that. But yeah, I do think people overrate AEW, and I think they've got a core fan base that will just love everything they do no matter what. I'm one of them, but I'm more objective. Yeah, I do want to see them succeed, but I do agree. I think if they keep going down the track, let's take it, for example, if they go and get Rusev, Miro, and then they bring in Zack Ryder, and then they start bringing in like other, maybe they bring in Drew Gulak. All of a sudden, you've got just recycled WWE guys, and then they put them. I do agree. They put them out there, and they're like, "See, this is what you missed out on. This is what you're doing wrong. This is what you did wrong. This is what the fans wanted, and we're going to do it now." That can get a little bit tiresome. But yeah, I think we've gone through pretty much everyone. There was a few people who posted a few, so I skipped over just to try and get everyone in who left one. Thank you so much for this. I've absolutely loved it. If you've stuck with the video for this long, I really appreciate it. These videos have been pretty long, but I wanted to make sure I got through as many as I could, so it was worthwhile for you guys. If you guys have any other ideas of things that you might want to see going forward, where we can do this, where you can, give me some interaction, and I can read your comments and go through them. Any other topics you want to talk about, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much. It's been an awesome 2-part series. I thought it was only going to be one video, but it's turned out to be 2. This one a little bit longer than the last one, but I wanted to get through everybody. I wanted to try and make sure everyone was involved. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you guys. And as always, from EarthYT13, I'll catch you on the next one.